like, just calm down, folks. Just calm down. And guess who did those graphics?
Hey,
Carson and Besse.
truly.
Yes, those ones. Those are great. That was from your trip to Dallas this
Yeah,
year.
all those were original clips.
Yeah.
The one from Edmonton, the first one was the Sid McDavid face-off in Edmonton I went to
Yeah.
in October, and then the one from in Dallas was when they went to the Western Conference Finals last year,
Mhm.
and then the last one was when I was in Calgary, and that was a shootout goal courtesy of Ricard Raquel on that one that I got on video, and we was at the game. So
That was great. Thanks, Car. You did
yep,
another great job on the video, and we are here for the Best Boys 2025 Stanley Cup Playoff wrap-up show for May the 8th. And tonight we had a couple of game twos going on. But before we get to that, I want to just say we are available on the Best Boys Center Ice podcast YouTube channel. And so we're all caught up. Today's show will come on tomorrow.
yeah.
And you can go on to Refocus Radio Network and get our podcast, our YouTube channel. And that's where you can also find Sweep the League with Rudy Campos Jr. Rudy's got some great stuff. He's really deep into the
He's knees
NBA.
deep in the NBA right now. They're in the same boat as the NHL.
Almost exactly the same. And then Shemaya Reed's I Am Refocus Radio. There's a lot of other great content on the Refocus Radio Network. You can also get this on Spreaker.com. And we usually post, one of us will post this onto TikTok. So another great night of hockey.
Late night. I think this might be the latest night we've had so far.
This is the latest night that I think we've started. I think because of the overtime between the Oilers and the Knights. So we'll get to that because that was a wild one in Las Vegas. But again, like I've mentioned before, just all these games are so close. Yeah. It comes down to there's no, lollygagging in the third.
I mean, there's a goalie being pulled or it's going OT.
And the first game was a chance and a big game for Washington. They needed to get in to get this game and get back into it, and they started out on fire. McMichael got his fourth in this. No scoring in the first period. McMichael's goal came with about 2.5 minutes, 2:16 into the second period. Then in the third, it just went. Carlson gets his first on the power play. Godson Bear power play goal for Carolina, and then Tom Wilson. You got to feel happy for Tom Wilson. Isn't he one that went into the bench in Montreal to fight?
Yeah.
An empty netter. So Washington comes away with a huge win at home, 3-1 over the Hurricanes. Because once again, and Carson's got the graphics up, and he'll go deeper into how this game went. Oh, yeah. But Washington, if they lose back-to-back home games and have to go into Carolina down 0-2, that's a hole. And we'll talk about that in the next game, but that's a hole you do not want to be in if you're the team with the home ice advantage.
Nope. And I mean, this game, Carolina outshot Washington tonight 28-21, but again, Washington wins 3-1. Like Dad and I mentioned on text earlier, this is just going to be a very gritty series. I think a lot like a lower scoring series, but it's going to be a gritty series, and it was tonight. It was a gritty game. Looking on here, I mean, it was just all that a playoff game should be, is just physical, tons of action. And, you look at the shot board here. This is Carolina's first on the right side, so pretty well spread out throughout the ice. Their only goal of the game came from the right face-off dot. And then you look for Washington, and same thing, pretty well spread out, but a lot of their goals, all their goals, I know the Wilson empty netter, that still counts as one, are by the dots. So they're able to get in those hard-to-reach areas and just getting it by, and same thing with Carolina. I mean, Stankoven had that goal last game literally from the same spot right here in the middle between the dots. But yeah, just a gritty series. I mean, this can be a long one. Huge for Washington. They needed to win this game. And it's pretty neat to think about, too, at the end of this game, Ovechkin didn't play like the last 5 minutes.
Yeah,
He was on the
they didn't
bench.
play him
They
at
benched
all.
him. They benched him to just play more defense. And I'm like, that's fine.
I
Whatever
was
works.
I was going to ask you, that's got to be the only reason why he
Yeah, oh
didn't
yeah,
play was
because they're trying to
promotion.
just they're trying to get their best defensive guys out there, which I totally understand the strategy. I think in that point of the game, you're not trying to spread the or stretch the lead, you're just trying to win the game.
Yeah.
So however you get it done, I mean, that's a team player move on his part to just sit out and let his guys take over. Um, you know, I got to have credit too at the end of that game. Carolina did all they could to try to keep the puck out of the net. Brent Burns blocked the original attempt, I think, by Protas and broke his stick, and then Wilson was able to slide it right underneath Seth Jarvis' legs and score. And
Mhm.
I think I kind of figured it was going to be tied going back to Carolina, so it's just that it's going to be a tie series. And again, Washington can get home ice back if they win one game in Raleigh, but that's not an easy game to win. So good for them to get this, or an easy place to win a game, but good for them to get on the board with a win in the series.
Yeah, that Carolina building the crowd that's a really hard place to win. But Washington's just going to have to play, you said, like that gritty game, and they're going to have to just grind it out. This series is going to be a grind them out series, and they have to not give. They've already lost home ice advantage after losing the first game. They don't. They need to get that back with this first game, because if you go down 2-1 to Carolina and
You
then
don't want
have
to
to
do
play,
that.
you don't want to do that, because then Carolina will just roll you over. So again, you said it right. This is a gritty series. This thing could go 7.
I think it could.
This,
Six or
this could
seven.
go.
It's going to go 6 or 7.
This could go just back and forth, back and forth, and back and
And I'm
forth.
fine with that. You know what? This isn't as much as the scoring's low. I feel like it's been a pretty good series. I mean, it's like going to be a tough series. And I really think whoever wins this one can really open their offensive game up next round. But I
Yep.
think just the way they match up against each other just doesn't work that way, that the offense is really opening up.
No, and they'll play game 3 of this
On
series. That'll be
Saturday.
on Saturday, because the matchup is the Carolina Washington series, the Edmonton Vegas series,
Yep.
and on the other side you got Toronto Florida up against
Dallas and
Winnipeg and
Winnipeg.
Dallas. So 1-1 series tie, and much like I said, a much needed win for Washington. Now we
Yes.
move into the nightcap, and it's again the Oilers and Vegas in Las Vegas after a lot of people say a stunning win by the Oilers in Vegas, just the way that the Oilers were down 2-0 and came back and scored 4 unanswered to win the game. And what happens tonight? They get down early on a power play goal, and we'll talk about this with the Oilers' discipline and getting into the penalty box. But again, in the first period last night, it was a 4-minute major or a 4-minute minor to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. This time around, they had back-to-back penalties, and the delay of game by it was Henrique.
Yeah.
It's like there was 1 second
That hurt.
left.
That hurt bad.
There was like 2-3 seconds left in the power play. Put it up against the boards, and because if I'm
he
not
had
mistaken,
the chance just to go forehand and get it out, and he went to his backhand and flipped it.
if I'm not mistaken, you can if you're still on the penalty kill, you're down to like 2-3 seconds. As long as you shoot the puck before the player gets off the penalty
Correct.
box,
You
it
can do
won't
that.
be icing, even if it is icing. But
Yeah.
that gave another opportunity for a very strong power play in Vegas to get on the board. And Jack Eichel was, like, they even said it on the broadcast, and I have to kind of agree. Jack Eichel was the best player on the ice tonight, besides the 2 goaltenders.
He was, every time he was on the ice, it seemed like
he had
was,
3 assists. He had 3 assists, I think, tonight.
He definitely deserved. I mean, he was the best player the whole game. Yeah, he was. That's not.
I like, I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan, but I have to
You
agree.
are?
Yeah, can you tell? I have to agree with what they said on the broadcast, is that Eichel was, besides the goaltenders, because both goaltenders were just absolutely amazing.
Eichel was the best player on the ice.
Yeah. And so after getting down 1-0, and then again, Carson will go a little bit more in depth into this. Vasily Podkolzin gets his first ever power play, or I'm sorry, playoff goal from Arvidsson and Klingberg. Darnell Nurse, a guy we hounded all last year, all playoffs last year, calling him the $9 million man, comes through again on a beautiful shot, makes it 3-1. William Karlsson gets his second to get it to 3-2. And then in the third period, a guy who I thought at the start of the playoffs was going to be the X factor because he hadn't played all year, long-term IR all year round. But Evander Kane has made his mark so far in the playoffs. He got his third. So the Oilers are up 4-2 a couple of minutes into the third period. So you're thinking, okay, 4-2. Wow, you know what? We're pretty much in control, but you can't do that against not only Vegas. You can't do that against anybody in the NHL, especially at this round of the playoffs. But you can't do this against Vegas because Olofsson gets his second on the power play. And it's just was a tic-tac-toe play. Jack Eichel, you see him shaking his head, saying, move over. That's what Jack Eichel brings to the game because he played so many years in Buffalo. He was the leader in Buffalo, but he gets to Vegas and he's like, hey, dude, move over. And there was nothing Pitt can do on either one of those goals. And then the guy who came back from being sick the last couple of games, Peter Angelo, gets his second to tie the game with about 9 minutes or 8 minutes left. So you're thinking, oh, it's going to be down to the wire. And boy, there was some
Eichel about won that game in the last second or two of that game.
It was both goaltenders had to come up big and make saves. So we go to the first overtime in this series. Now, I think he said this was the 12th overtime game so far in the first two rounds. That's a lot of overtime. That's why I say these games so far have been just so close. And all right, you can talk about this too. The 5-minute major to Roy for cross-checking Frederick in the face. And it's like I want to say that I was looking.
There was less than 15 minutes left. There was like 5.5 minutes into overtime.
So you're thinking as a Vegas fan, you're going, seriously? There was no they were thinking, well, maybe he was.
There was no reason to do that.
There was no reason to do that. You're either going to get 4 minutes or you're going to get 5. 5, you get a game misconduct and you're out of the game,
which he did.
And so, all right, so now you're thinking, Oiler fans are thinking, 5-minute power play. Now, the Oilers got 8 or 9 shots on that power play, but
didn't score.
Aiden Hill saved the bacon right there. And I was texting Carson towards the end of the power play saying, this is a blown opportunity by the Oilers, and it could
because until that power play, Vegas controlled overtime.
Oh, they did totally. And I you saw that where Pickard got run into and his leg laid on, which wasn't,
it wasn't a dirty play.
It wasn't a dirty play. It just happened. And you think, well, and that just came before one of the goals. I don't know if it was
right before Pietrangelo's goal.
And they were thinking, Pick, you should have just stayed down and got a little. You don't have to leave the game, but you just get yourself together. And maybe it wouldn't have went in because he did look a little slower.
Yes, he did. He looked
a little slower, but and then all night the whole talk was no points from Draisaitl or McDavid. And the Oilers their record is
horrendous. They lost their last 9 games.
So their record is horrendous when neither one of them score. So what happens? It was just like all night. McDavid was, he wasn't able to be McDavid-like. He wasn't able to just get into the zone. Well, this one, he went inside and out of Jack Eichel.
Yeah, he caught Jack Eichel flat-footed on that.
He caught him flat-footed, and you've got McDavid and Draisaitl on a 2-on-1, pretty much blue line in, and as you call them, McDry, just a patience by McDavid, and Draisaitl puts it in the back of the net, and what sometimes will happen in overtime. And I've seen it so many times. A team will dominate overtime, be late in that overtime period, and the other team scores. And you go out and go, not only that, but now Vegas is down 0-2.
Going on the road now.
Going on the road to Edmonton. And you've been in that building. You know what it's going to be like. You know what the mosh pit is going to be like outside. You know that it's going to be, we don't, and the Oilers have got to play like we're up 2-0. We don't want to let Vegas, and you got to have the mindset. It's not going to happen, but you got to have the mindset. It's like we need to win game 3, and then we need to win game 4. We can't let this team back in. Now it's not going to happen. Vegas is just too good to let that happen. But they were again, their defense in front of their own net is horrendous, and it's like it's very surprising to me. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that the Oilers are going to win both these games in Vegas, and they did. I mean, they were not the better team, I think, for most of this game, but they won, and that's all that matters is they come out on top in the game. Uh, you know, both goalies were really good in this game. Um, I couldn't say which one was better out of the two because they were both great. I mean, there were plenty of times that Vegas could end the game and vice versa for the Oilers. I mean, they had one unlucky break with Hyman hitting the crossbar in overtime on that
Yeah,
wacky. There were tons of little weird bounces like that it was
and
coming
then
off the
McDavid had
boards.
a shot
Yeah,
too, and
he
he
did.
just off of a bad
He
bounce.
did. But you look at this here. The Oilers outshot Vegas tonight 37-32. Uh, Again, well spread out throughout the ice, but a lot of their shots are look at how close they are to him. There's 10 plus shots just where he's within probably 10, 15
Mhm.
foot radius of Aiden Hill. And two of their goals came right from there. Dreisaitl's is right here. Uh, his goal just, and, even the rest of these right by the dots. So they're getting traffic in front. They're screening. They're able to screen Aiden Hill. And that's important. That's key for the Oilers because if he sees the puck, he's not going to miss it. So they have to be able to screen him, or like what they did on the overtime goal, but burst of speed, for sure. And then look at Vegas's more spread out, more throughout the point. Um, but same thing. I mean, power play killer, two power play goals, both in the same spot, pretty much. I think
Yeah.
both of these are Olofsson's goals. Um, you know, and then you have Peter Angelo's right here, but the Oilers got to be careful on that. They can't be taking penalties because this was a team that all of a sudden filled in on that power play too. He's not even on there he's not when he's playing. But what's his Dorofiev wasn't playing, so
Mhm.
they filled in all of a sudden. He has two power play goals now for
Yeah.
them tonight. Um, so discipline's the key for the Oilers. You're Vegas, you're PO that you lost this game because they should have had it. They really should have. They played the better in the overtime. They played better, I think, during the game, and it just didn't work out that way. Even though he wasn't on the score sheet really, um, you know, RNH, he
Hmm.
looked really good.
Yeah.
The whole line looked really good.
That
Of
line looked
Hyman,
really good. Yeah.
it did. That was the best line of the game. But yeah, you're pissed if you're Vegas going that back
And
home
like
and
the fourth line was on fire tonight. Podkolzin got a goal, and I
yeah,
think I think it was the Nurse goal that was on that line. I can't remember, but
yeah, yeah, it
those
was.
all of the lines. Maybe the Yanmark line wasn't as predominant as they were in Game 1, but the other three lines were, and
No,
like, and if you're so that's the thing. Okay, we always talk about, well, why do you put McDavid and Draisaitl together? You should split them up. Well, when you've got your depth scoring working, you can do that, and you can put them on the same line. I still am not a big fan of it unless you need it, but it's working right now. They've won 6 games in a row with that formula, and the depth scoring is like what they haven't had for years in mostly in the playoffs. They haven't had it. You have to rely on Draisaitl.
that's
You have to
yes, you
rely
do.
on McDavid. And that now that you got a second line with RNH and Hyman and Kane, that's a powerful second line. So there's your big second line. I think the Oilers have a formula right now that you don't really want to mess with. And when you win 6 games in a row, and you got a guy who is 6-0 now, I think he's the only goaltender that
Yeah, undefeated
is
right now.
undefeated. He's only goaltender right now with 6 wins, if I'm not mistaken. Well, maybe not. Well, no, Stolars
No,
wasn't in the other night. So, and here's Gallon Pickard, and they talked about Pickard. He he played in Vegas. He was
he was an expansion pickup.
expansion pickup, and then he toured around in the AHL forever. Played like 19 games in the NHL. Barely last year, he got a few games in, and then this year, all of a sudden, he was a solid backup, and he proved himself when Stu went down
He
with the
he's gonna
concussion.
earn he's gonna earn a big deal whenever his is
Yeah,
set to renew. I mean,
you could.
that might be something that y'all can get something out of for him,
Mhm.
honestly, and get some good assets because he's been playing really good, and he's definitely got to be the starter the rest of the way, I think, unless
Yeah,
something drastic happens and he just falls off the
yeah,
cliff. But I don't see that changing.
no, and you got to feel good for him.
He's a
Everybody loves
journeyman. He's
everybody
a
loves
journeyman.
Calvin Pickard. He talks to everybody on every team, and he's been there. He's gone through the AHL. He's been on the bus. He's ridden the bus, and he's twirled in there. And then now he's got his shot, and he's making the most of it. And like they even said it on the broadcast, he looks confident, but the team looks confident in front of him, and that's what the key is. So the Oilers take a 2-0 series lead back
Yep.
to Edmonton for the late game on Saturday at Rogers Place in Edmonton. And tomorrow night we got a couple of more games, as I mentioned. They're now splitting them up, 2 games every night. And this one, the Maple Leafs in Florida, Panthers are in trouble. The Panthers are in trouble. They're down 0-2 to Toronto. Now, saying that, the Toronto Maple Leafs are still the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they could blow
And
this.
Florida's going to home. They're
And
going
Florida's
home.
going home. So, but again, it's like I say, it's like Captain Obvious. They have to win Game 3, and they need to push and keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. Bob's got to get himself back to
Yes, he
being
does. He
Bob.
has not looked very
He's
good
not
this
looked
series.
very good, and I expect the Panthers to win this one. I don't think the Leafs will go up 3-0. This is still going to be a long series, but I really think the Panthers are going to come home and they're going to take this game and make it a 2-1 series lead for Toronto.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they got it. They have to win. They have to. They can't afford to go down 3-0 now. They have to win
No,
tomorrow, and I think they're going to. They just need to have. They need Bob needs to play better. The Panthers just got to hold the fort when they score. Don't let up. Keep going because they're letting up, and Toronto is getting a goal like right after they score a goal,
yeah,
and that's not the way to win the playoffs. Not at all.
no. And the late game could be, and I'm thinking it's going to be another visiting team being up 2-0. I still think Dallas is going to beat Winnipeg in Winnipeg tomorrow night. And Ottinger looks Otter of old.
Yes, he
I
does.
think Hellebuck is
He looked
human.
better again in game one, but it wasn't enough.
No. So I really think that, you get Rantanen is a stud. He's got 8 goals so far in this playoffs. So you got to stop him. But then after Rantanen, you still got some amazing players that can put the puck in the
Yeah.
net and do some, you know, fantastic things. I
See,
just
go ahead.
I just really think Dallas is going to take this one in Winnipeg and go up 2-0, go into American Airlines Center for Game 3 and Game 4.
Yeah, I actually have Winnipeg winning tomorrow night. I think they're gonna tie it up. Again, they're gonna be desperate. They're gonna be desperate. They have to win. I mean, you can't go to Dallas down 2-0. That's not gonna be a good situation, especially with how Hellebuck's played. Um, I think that the Jets are gonna respond and be able to figure out Otter a little bit. I think there's going to be a bit more scoring in this game, but the key for the Jets is can they shut Mikko Rantanen down because obviously he's got 2 hat tricks in his last 2 games. If they can't stop him, they're in trouble. If they
Yeah,
don't figure out how to defend him, and with at the same time not expose yourselves to leaving other guys wide open because there's plenty of guys on that team that can light you up if you don't play your cards right.
yeah, and I think I think Winnipeg has got a shot, but I still think Dallas will pull this one out.
Yeah, and I just look at Dallas. I mean, as a team, I think they're just so much more well-rounded than the Jets are.
Yeah,
I really do. I think you just look from lines 1 through 4, defense
and
pairs 1 through 3, and
right,
goal. They're more well-rounded. They have a lot more scoring depth than Winnipeg does. Winnipeg has those guys that can wear you down a little bit, but I think the Stars are just they're
the
too. I think
Stars
they're too good to not win this series.
and
I
the
think
Stars got a lot of playoff experience. Well, Winnipeg doesn't have as much
no.
as Dallas does. So that will be the late game. It's an 8:30 start, as you can see on the screen. So we'll be on after that game ends, pending overtime, probably about 11:30 11:30, kind of like tonight, except for it was overtime, so we went a little bit longer.
Yeah.
With Dallas leading that series 1-0, and Toronto leading Florida 2-0. And then Saturday night will be Carolina, Washington in Carolina, series tied at 1, and then Vegas and Edmonton against the Oilers, and the Oilers up 2-0. Both of those games will be Saturday night, and we'll be on after the Edmonton Vegas game shortly. You can always think about, okay, the last game is over. Give us about 15-20 minutes, and we'll be on the air with you. And then so you can get this with all the great graphics. And by the way, Carson, Besse, thank you very much for all the great graphics you're doing.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to go back in and you show the charts, the scoring, the shot charts and everything to everybody, because that makes it more understandable for maybe somebody catching, the Stanley Cup Playoffs or hockey for the first time. So thank you very much for everything. New logo, as you can see up in the right-hand corner for the Best Sports Sentiments podcast. You will get this. It'll be up and available on YouTube tomorrow, along with being on Spreaker. And we will, one of us will post on TikTok as well. And it's all these games have been so, you can't, as a hockey fan, and okay, I'm an Oilers fan, you're a Penguins fan, whether our team is in it or not, you got to enjoy these games and how close they are. This is playoff hockey.
I agree.
We talked about it the other night. It's not like the NBA, which is they want specific teams to be there. So they'll do whatever they can, and it's just kind of boring. But it ain't boring here. All of these games have been so much fun to watch. And I literally on the edge of your seat with a lot of these games. So we'll be on tomorrow night, right around 11:30 after the Dallas-Winnipeg game. And again, thank you very much for joining us. If you have opinions, you can message us either on our Facebook messengers or on TikTok as well, because I've been getting that friend of ours that's been trolling me a little bit and he's probably not. I haven't seen what he sent tonight, but he's probably thinking the Oilers cheated. So, anyways, all right, thanks, Carr. And in the meantime, and in between time, everybody have a great hockey night.
Bye, Dan.
Bye, son.